Hey, good morning. Welcome back to 15th Street Automotive. Today's project is a 2011 Chevy Equinox 2.4. Customer's concern is excessive oil consumption. Oil change interval is a little longer than what we recommend, but they don't go excessively long. But this last week he checked his dipstick and it was not showing on the dipstick. So let's take a look at this one. Alright, so we've got the hood up, pull this dipstick out, and there's no oil on the dipstick at all. And he had added a quart, so it was definitely low. Now, if you'll take a look at this dipstick real close, each one of those marks, each one of those lines is about 2/10 of a quart. So if you're showing no oil on your dipstick, it may only be about a quart and a quarter low. So don't necessarily add a bunch of oil to it, you'll be over full. Being over full can be just as detrimental as being low, so don't add a bunch of extra oil to it. So the oil's still low on the dipstick. They're about 1,000 miles overdue for an oil change anyway, so we're going to do an oil change on this. Oil and filter, get it up to the right level, then I'll go drive it, and then we'll kind of start an oil consumption procedure for it and see if this thing's actually burning oil. Or there's a couple things that we'll go over here in just a minute on where that oil could be going. So let's get this thing up and change oil. Alright, so I'm going to drain the oil into a graduated cylinder or a graduated container here so that I can measure exactly how much oil is left in it. Okay, so it's almost down to a trickle here. There's just over 2 quarts. You can see the 2-quart mark there, and he had added a quart to it before he brought it down here. So he was down to about just over a quart when he checked the oil. So there's definitely an oil consumption problem here. This thing holds 4 quarts, so we need to investigate why this thing's losing oil. Underneath here, it's relatively dry. Certainly not any sign of any leak that would cause loss of oil like that. So the engine's definitely burning it. We'll go over a couple of ways that are common on this engine as to why it might be burning. So this engine holds 5 quarts, which means it burned 4 quarts in the last 5,000 miles since the last oil change. So we definitely need to investigate where that oil is going to. So one of the common problems with these things is the PCV system gets plugged up. And the PCV system is basically just a little tiny orifice, 1/16 of an inch orifice inside the intake. It gets plugged up. And then the baffles in the valve cover, they also get plugged up. So it doesn't create the proper vacuum of the PCV system. One way to test that is pressure in the crankcase, and that should have just a slightest bit of vacuum on that oil filter cap, and there's excessive pressure there. That could be an indication that the rings are collapsed. It could also be an indication that the PCV system is not working properly. There's a super quick and easy test to determine if that's the problem of the oil consumption. What you do is you pull this hose off. This is the hose that goes from the valve cover up into the intake plenum. Pull that off. Pull it out of the valve cover there. To this side. Now you can do something as simple as just take a piece of paper here, put it on the port that you pulled that off of the valve cover, and if it sticks there, that means the PCV is flowing and the baffles in the valve cover are flowing. Quick and easy test on that. So PCV system and the valve cover is not our problem on this one. So another indication that there's a problem here would be oil in this system here. and it comes up through this port here out of the valve cover. Crankcase gets pressurized, it pushes oil through here, and it collects in here. So let's pull this off real quick. And as you can see, it's dry in there. So the problem doesn't appear to be super severe. So without any obvious signs of damage to the engine, PCV system seems to be working right. The baffles and the valve cover seem to be clean enough. I'm getting some negative pressure in the PCV system, the PCV vent system. So what I'm going to do? The system's completely full of oil, 5 quarts. Oil filter's been changed. We're going to go put some miles on this thing, come back and check it again. Probably what we'll do is we'll have the customer drive it 500 miles and then come back and we'll recheck it. Alright, so I pulled the spark plugs out just to check and see if there was any oil deposits on them, and they're a little worn. They're 90,000 miles on them, but there's certainly no excessive oil deposits on them. They're all pretty clean. Maybe just a little bit, but certainly not enough to be of concern. They are worn. I mean, they've been in there a long time, so we're going to recommend putting in spark plugs while they're out. But they don't look too bad. No excessive oil deposits on them. This right here is that port that I had off when I checked the PCV vacuum. Basically, just stick a piece of paper with the engine running 2,500 RPMs. Just stick a piece of paper over this little port right here after you pull this tube off, and if it sticks there, that's enough vacuum to indicate that the PCV system is clear and operating. So I just wanted to show you where that hose was. So we're going to call customer, sell him a set of spark plugs. Then we're going to have him drive it for 500 miles. Come back, we'll check the oil level again. And see if he's still got that consumption. If he has the consumption, it's very likely it's got a ring problem, a compression problem with the pistons. There's a TSB out for those, but I like to make sure that it's not something with the PCV system or the valve cover system, baffle system here, or anything simple other than maybe the other option is those piston rings. But we'll get them back here in 500 miles and we'll test, see for sure.